The mayor of San Francisco, Gavin Newsom, his honor is on the line. Gavin, how you doing?
I'm good, Steve. Yourself?
Fine, thank you. You guys on your way up to Sonoma County now?
Yeah, there's something called traffic in the state. It's something I'm now intimately familiar with for the moment and generally speaking.
You know, I luck out. I work afternoon drive here. That's why we call it the drive, and I don't have to really get stuck in it. It's nice, but...
So it's something we got to deal with, and boy, that one's a complicated one because every dollar we invest does pay dividends a generation down the line. So transportation top on the agenda, but obviously no immediate short-term fixes there.
Yeah, well, we're looking a lot better up in Sonoma County these days now that they finished 101. So
right, that's good. That bottleneck there, yeah.
Yeah. So there's the Newsom for California Exploratory Committee. How long do you think it's going to take you to explore whether you're going to officially announce the run for governor?
We'll probably have a good sense in the early part of next year. We took out the papers on the Exploratory Committee about 4 or 5 months ago, and been up and down the state. Was in Los Angeles the last 3 days. We'll be up here tonight in a town hall meeting at the Veteran Memorial Auditorium, and hopefully anyone who's listening has any interest and wants to participate and communicate their thoughts and ideas for the future of the state at 6:30 tonight. We welcome them, and the idea is really get a sense of where people are and where people want to go in terms of turning the state in a new direction. I don't think anyone is particularly satisfied with the status quo today in Sacramento.
Boy, howdy, as they say. So this is sort of a town hall type meeting tonight at the Santa Rosa Vets building?
Yeah, we've been doing them all over the state. We did one recently down in Larkspur a few weeks ago, and it's the classic town hall meeting. I'll make some brief opening remarks, and then really I want to hear from folks. And I'm pretty good taking the criticism. Any mayor of San Francisco better be good at that if they're going to survive, and really get a sense, again, where people are. And the whole idea is to explore people's priorities and where, get a sense of whether or not I'm off base in terms of my belief that beyond the obvious, the economic issues, that the issues of healthcare and education are important and tantamount to the priorities that the next governor should be focused on.
You've done a good job with the San Francisco's universal health care system the city has. Tell us about that.
Well, I think one of the great spirits of San Francisco, it's not just a city of dreamers, but of doers. And we really have taken on responsibility, not just to identify problems, but try to solve them. And as you point out, healthcare is one of them. All of us recognize and need to reconcile the fact the federal government has not done its job in terms of addressing the issue of the healthcare crisis, not only for those that are uninsured, but those that become uninsured during the course of a year, or those that can barely afford the insurance they have. In our city, we decided to stop talking about it and start doing something about it. And we've become the first city in the United States not just to assert a plan, but actually implement a plan for universal health care. About 60% of those that were previously uninsured without access to primary care about a year and a half are now enrolled in our program, 600 to 1,000 every single week, regardless of pre-existing conditions, have the ability now to get health care in our city. If we can do it, I'm absolutely convinced that we can scale this in counties up and down, not only the northern part of our state, but all up and down the coast and throughout the rest of the state.
Now, the economic crisis aside, let's talk a little bit about efficient energy and green buildings and such. I know you're a big believer in that.
Yeah, very proud of what we've done in terms of leading the way in a lot of the environmental front. The highest recycling rates in America at 70%. We've got some pretty progressive programs on alternative fuels and alternative energy and solar programs, the only local solar rebate program in our state, and doing the same thing around green things. And I think this is an area that folks up here increasingly understand, and the city council, coincidentally, tonight will be taking up some green building measure that are very similar to what we've done in San Francisco. And the reason that's important is we tend to focus so much of the environmental challenge in the context of transportation and not enough in the context of building, construction, demolition, and more importantly, operation. So it's not just energy efficiency, it's the kind of building materials we use, kind of insulation we use, the kind of design that ultimately reduces not only our energy consumption, but our energy costs. And that's why this whole issue of the environment should unite all of us, regardless of party, regardless of whether or not we're conservatives or liberals. This one is just common sense, and so good green building standards, the likes which I hope the City Council adopts here tonight, will have a pretty profound impact in terms of addressing both economic issues as well as environmental.
Well, of course, what's front and center right now is in Sacramento. Obviously, they're about to go into another session. We just talked to Jared Huffman, a state assemblyman from San Rafael, and we've been following this budget thing with Sacramento for months and months and months. What are your thoughts about the situation? You know, it's really such a partisan situation right now that it's almost like it can never get broken. It can never get fixed, is what I'm trying to say.
It's just a mess. I mean, you're talking about now projected $41.8 billion. Yeah. $41.8 billion. It's staggering sum. But we most importantly have to deal with yesterday's problem today, and that is last year's budget that was just signed just a few months ago is already out of balance by $14.8 billion, roughly $15 billion. That's the budget we just passed. The legislature's in there today. Democrats and Republicans, you're right, at odds over spending cuts versus tax increases. At the end of the day, though, I think everybody agrees, including the governor, and I think privately most of the Republicans we're talking to agree that there has to be a form of both. There's going to have to be sacrifices made in terms of the need to find new revenue at the same time finding some cuts. In our city, it's exactly the approach we've taken, though candidly, we haven't done much on the revenue side. I've actually been able to cut taxes and eliminate bureaucracy and reduce redundancy and invest in healthcare and preschool and invest in some anti-poverty programs, which we think are scalable to the rest of the state. But I confess that going into the next fiscal year, our city and county is not dissimilar to cities and counties up and down the state, including Sonoma County, as well as the state itself, where it's going to be very difficult not to make dramatic cuts in healthcare and education unless we offset them with some more creative revenue sources.
Yep. I have to ask you this: if you do run for governor, what sort of effect do you think your stance on gay marriage, particularly the weddings of a few years back, and everything? You're certainly in the spotlight, not only statewide but nationwide on that. How do you think that will affect you in California? You think it's going to be?
It's really up to people. If they see me just as the person that believes in marriage equality, that believes in that fundamental principle, and again, good people can disagree, and trust me, Steve, I got family members that I love and respect and admire that disagree with me on this. Yeah. To me, it's a fundamental, though, principle that I'll fight for. But if they see me as just fighting for that, and they don't see what we've done on healthcare, and as I said, on education, the environment, and on the economy, then yeah, it's a big deal, and it will get in the way of our chances of even getting to those other issues. If people are willing to say, look, I agree to disagree with you on this, but what else are you about? You're a small business person, you got into politics, you've got a business-like approach, you've been able to invest and grow your economy and invest in fundamental change in your city, and you produce some results, I'm interested in that, and maybe you can do that in the state. And then I'm willing to forgive you your position on the marriage issue or the same-sex marriage issue. And that's really the question, and that's what I'm offering in the context of this exploratory process, is to see that question get answered, and to the extent that people are unwilling to have a conversation about other things, then I won't run. But if people are willing to have that conversation and explore some of the other things we have to offer, then obviously we're going to jump in head first in January or February.
Well, let's just hope that isn't an issue, because it's so. I mean, it should not be. It's just ridiculous. At this point.
Amen.
So, and I really hope that things go well and that you do make a run for it personally, just from my personal point of view. And it's tonight. Starts at 6:30, and it's at the Santa Rosa Veterans Memorial Building, and it's Mayor Gavin Newsom. We'll be having a conversation with all of you about California's future. And I appreciate you taking the time, even though you couldn't come in, and we hope to talk again soon and have a great holiday season.
Hey, Steve, thank you very much for having me on, and you as well.
All right.
Take care.
Take care, Gavin.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. Gavin Newsom, Mayor of San Francisco.